In today's second episode of Moto News, we are diving into the latest, juiciest news in the motorcycle sphere. We've got Harley-Davidson facing a massive lawsuit over a faulty traction control system, as well as backtracking on their stances regarding political social views, a council from a town over in England wanting to ban motorcycle gatherings and requiring a permit or setting fines if such is done. Ducati's doubling down on their high-end exclusivity, as well as a man suing an artist for hosting a women's-only motorcycle paint night. So stay tuned, we have those stories and so much more. In today's first story, we're covering the monumental legal battle where there's a $287 million lawsuit against Harley-Davidson over a tragic trike crash, which puts the spotlight on the risk of over-relying on technology for motorcycle safety. In 2020, Harold Morris and Pamela Sinclair were riding a trike over near the Pennsylvania-New York border when they had lost control, with the crash resulting in Sinclair's death and Morris's injuries. Their lawyers had sued Harley-Davidson, stating that the crash was due to a faulty traction control and it failing. The jury awarded $287 million to Sinclair and Morris's estates, making it one of the largest product liability payouts ever. While Morris states the financial compensation is significant, his primary objective with this lawsuit was to hold Harley-Davidson accountable and to prevent similar issues happening with other riders in the future. The case argues that Harley-Davidson cuts corners in the production of trikes' traction control systems. Harley-Davidson plans to appeal this verdict as they disagree with the final decision. This legal setback only adds to Harley-Davidson's recent challenges regarding criticism of their woke stance, their aging customer base, productions moving over to Thailand, dealership scandals, and their ongoing losses in their EV division, Livewire. In my opinion, life did seem to be a whole lot simpler when it was generally understood that riding a motorcycle required a certain level of skill. As more motorcycle manufacturers push technology meant to replace rider skill, which they say it's in the name of safety or to help better aid the rider, we see more riders relying on them instead of developing their own abilities. Companies chase after these tech solutions, and when they fail, we all pay the price. While Harley-Davidson is gearing up for their appeal, they might want to start preparing for a financial bailout fund, because the only thing getting traction here is their next big lawsuit expense. The debate continues as Harley-Davidson grapples with its public image with accusations of wokeness and their recent decisions to dial back on diversity initiatives. Conservative commentator Robbie Starbuck has recently accused Harley-Davidson of embracing a woke agenda, as well as bowing down to the pressure from liberal groups. He had highlighted several of Harley-Davidson's recent policies that have sparked controversy, such as sending white men to diversity training sessions focused on LGBTQ issues, as well as supporting legislations that allow people to use restrooms of which they identify as, hosting LGBTQ events at Harley offices, and a few other examples as such. The controversy of Harley's direction has gained a whole lot of attention from motorcycle enthusiasts, particularly at the recent Sturgis motorcycle rally, with a whole lot of bikers stating their distaste with Harley leaving its traditional image, and they feel as if that's Harley alienating their core customer base. Facing a mountain of criticism, Harley-Davidson announced that they would discontinue its diversity and inclusion initiatives, with the statement that they issued reaffirming its commitment to welcoming all individuals, but clarified that they stopped their DEI policies or pursuing those policies. The statement was aimed to address social media criticism and reaffirming the company's dedication to its long-standing values and core customer base. The company also stated that they stopped operating these DEI policies of April of this year, saying they will no longer have hiring quotas or diversity spending goals. They also emphasized on their refocusing their appeal to their core traditional customer base and supporting first responders, military members, and veterans. Harley intends to review its sponsorships and employee training to better align with what the business needs rather than social or political agendas. What Harley really needs to do is either stand firm on its stance or just refrain from making it public. Often frequently shifting your views based on public opinion, it comes off rather inconsistent or just lacking in conviction and whole. And what I want everyone to hear is ultimately, brands should not be idolized. They should be seen for exactly what they are, which is businesses driven by profit. While sometimes they may seem to align with certain values that we may have, in the end, its core mission revolves around the bottom line, which is money. If a company's political or social stance is important, then they simply should just stop supporting it instead of feeling a sense of betrayal. In the end, our money speaks much louder than any of our complaints ever will. So if it's an issue, stop spending and move on. Now, in a twist of irony, this seems like the one time traction control could actually be beneficial, if only Harley's PR team had one, because they could use a little bit of stability before they slide into another controversy. Now, as that motorcycle company grapples with its own issues, many riders are turning their attention towards smaller displacement motorcycles due to their practicality and accessibility. For decades, motorcycle manufacturers have competed fiercely over pushing for higher horsepower, higher torque, advanced technology, which results in high-performance motorcycles that redefine our sense for speed. But in reality, these high-displacement bikes aren't exactly what everyone wants or needs. Despite their appeal, they don't significantly benefit the brand as a whole. With Triumph's recent success with their 400s, its Speed 400 and Scrambler 400, with them selling over 50,000 units in just a year, it proves this point. Smaller displacement bikes such as Triumph's 400s, Kawasaki's 500s, KTM's 390, and BMW's 310s are gaining popularity due to them being safer for beginning riders and them being more manageable. In cities where traffic or speed are concerned, these bikes provide more than enough performance for everyday use without the risks that are associated with high-powered motorcycles. And despite the skepticism of its market appeal in the United States, these bikes are perfect for urban areas or lower speed roads. I find it amusing when people claim that a 400cc motorcycle isn't suited for the United States or won't sell well here. Have you noticed how many of our areas in America are becoming more urban, with people driving average speeds on roads between 30 and 50 miles per hour? These smaller displacement motorcycles are more than capable of having enough performance and power to keep up with average highway speeds. Maybe not high-speed interstates, but most roads that we have, they're more than well suited in being able to handle these roads. Now, on top of that, as well as them being more cost-efficient, fuel-efficient, easier to handle and manage, it makes them a rather smart choice and likely to remain popular in the future. In a world where bigger is often seen better, it's pretty nice to see people appreciating these smaller displacement bikes. It's like realizing you don't need a rocket to handle city traffic. And these bikes are proving that sometimes great things come in smaller packages. As we see more riders gravitating to smaller displacement bikes for their practicality and ease of use, Ducati is decided to take a whole different path. Ducati's CEO at World Ducati Week stated that they will not be producing smaller displacement bikes in order to retain the brand's prestige. Despite of this, many brands such as Triumph are succeeding very well with these smaller displacement bikes due to their popularity with beginner riders as well as older riders because of its affordability. Now, I have to mention, Ducati's best-selling motorcycles are its smaller displacement bikes, the Scrambler and Monster, versus its high-end performance bike, the Panigale V4, which contradicts the CEO's stance. Ducati recently introduced a dirt bike and is rumored to be working on a road-legal enduro version, which seems rather inconsistent with their stance of focusing on higher displacement bikes. The principle of attracting entry-level customers and riders and retaining them tends to work pretty magnificently for a lot of brands, and there's a really big market and potential for Ducati to make a lightweight, affordable bike under 600cc that I think would benefit the brand pretty well as a whole. Maybe Ducati's idea of prestige is like shooting for the stars but forgetting where the road is. Sometimes the best way to elevate a brand is meeting riders where they are instead of just where you want them to be. While Ducati remains to stand firm on their stance of not producing smaller displacement bikes, some of their dealerships are facing serious legal battles that could tarnish the brand's reputation. Motorcycle dealerships vary widely. While some are great, others unfortunately live up to the stereotype of stealerships. Ducati of Detroit faced a business license revocation in August 2024 after a multi-year investigation from the Michigan Department of State. The dealership was found guilty of multiple fraudulent acts, including collecting sales tax at a full price, but altering paperwork to show lower prices to pay less taxes, changing delivery dates on paperwork to avoid late fees, failing to apply for vehicle titles and registrations within the required 21 days, and issuing temporary registrations with incorrect dates, and forging customer signatures on titles and registration applications without their consent or knowledge. The investigation began in 2017 after a former employee revealed violations that were done by the dealership over the course of a few years. Ducati of Detroit admitted to 7 violations, agreed to revocation, and waived the right to a hearing. The dealership was fined $53,310 for investigation and administrative cost, with potential additional cost owed to other Michigan state departments. Ducati of Detroit is banned from applying for a new business license or having another party to do so on their behalf. Looks like Ducati of Detroit thought that they could get away with doing some shady business practices, but they were caught quicker than a Ducati hitting top speeds on a straightaway. A group of Harley-Davidson dealerships have accused the company of hoarding profits by burdening them with excessive inventory and costly upgrades. Now, as always, Harley-Davidson is denying these allegations despite the recent claims made from Harley-Davidson Dealership Council. This council is made up of over 200 dealers, and they're arguing that Harley is pushing too much inventory on dealers, demanding expensive showroom upgrades, and using the strategy to boost financial appearance. And I know from when I worked there, I already heard the talks of each dealer having to face a makeover, and it was due to like specific colors that they wanted used and just accessories, just kind of, it seemed like Harley's wanting to make a more cookie cutter style dealerships. Harley-Davidson recently announced a 13% increase in revenue and announced a $1 billion stock buyback, which some dealers believe is funded by the costs that are imposed on them. Now, if you'd seen my previous episode on Moto News, I had covered similar allegations that Harley-Davidson Japan was facing where dealerships were faced with unrealistic sales quotas and they were pressured to buy unwanted bikes with the risk of losing their dealership contract if they didn't do so. It is worth noting Harley-Davidson has recently closed over 100 dealerships and there has been much unrest with union workers with the topic of Harley moving more and more production over to Thailand. Now, the results of this dealer accusations with Harley is uncertain, but there is the chance that it could lead to an investigation similar to those conducted by Japan's Fair Trade Commission. It seems like Harley-Davidson's idea of partnership with its dealers is more like a high-stakes poker game, except dealers keep getting the losing hand. As Harley-Davidson deals with accusations of financial exploitation and dealership troubles, a whole different type of controversy is brewing up in the motorcycle world, and this one rather ticked me off rather strongly. Jackie King, who goes by Danger, is an art teacher and an avid motorcyclist who combined her passions for art and motorcycling by organizing a women's-only motorcycle paint classes, which is like combining bike night into paint night into one. That sounds pretty wicked of an idea if you ask me. Finding female riders to ride with can be rather challenging. Trust me, I know the struggle. So Danger tried to create a space where women can bond and connect over shared similar interests. With support from her local women's riding groups and Harley-Davidson dealerships, these classes aimed to foster a sense of community in spaces that are traditionally dominated by men. However, earlier this year, in March 2024, Danger was sued for allegedly violating California's UNRUH Civil Rights Act, which prohibits discrimination from businesses. The lawsuit claims that her women's-only classes were discriminatory despite her intentions of fostering inclusivity. The UNRUH Act was established in 1959 and has been amended over the years to expand protections against various forms of discrimination, including gender and sexual orientation. While the law was designed to prevent discrimination, it has been exploited in some cases, particularly by certain individuals filing lawsuit claiming gender biasism. Some men have used the UNRUH Act to file lawsuit against woman-led events alleging discrimination, even though these events were designed to uplift underrepresented groups. There's been a pattern of such lawsuits, often involving the same lawyer who has targeted women's groups and leveraging California's legal framework to extract settlements. Danger is raising funds and awareness for her legal battle, emphasizing that similar lawsuits have been filed for other small woman-owned businesses in Southern California. And it's truly disheartening that some people are exploiting legal loopholes for personal gain, undermining a woman's efforts to foster a sense of community rather than celebrating their initiative. If there was a program like this near me, you can bet your bottom dollar I'd be there every week. As a female motorcyclist, I truly understand the struggle of wanting to be around other women who have similar interests as me. And just like how men have their own spaces like bike nights at bars, but not everyone feels comfortable in that environment, whether you're male or woman. But sometimes we just want to be around those who have similar interests as us. And how, like, men can benefit from the fellowship of other men, women just the same benefit from connecting with other women. There is something special about the sense of sisterhood that comes with riding and just being around women who have a common core of interest as you. Now, I could have probably said that and expressed those words a whole lot better, but what I'm trying to get to is, if Danger has success in this legal battle, it could have such a positive impact and inspire greater support in women building community and strengthening the female biker community. In times like these, we should be gathering together and supporting each other, rather tearing each other down for personal gain. Now, if you want to support Danger's fight in this legal battle, I have included the link in the description below to her GoFundMe page, where she's raising money for her lawyer and lawsuit fees. In other news, the motorcycle industry is seeing significant shifts in how manufacturers approach future technology. Suzuki bosses are saying electric motors are not their final end goal. The company instead is committed to the future of internal combustion engines, focusing on synthetic fuel technologies and hydrogen powers to meet emissions targets over the next few decades. Now, Suzuki does plan on producing small electric scooters, with 4 models coming out in March of 2025, aimed at commuting and short-distance use. But Suzuki doesn't see electric motors as a viable sole solution for larger motorcycles due to their longer range and different performance needs. But instead, the company is pursuing a multifaceted approach, including hydrogen engines, E85, E100, biofuels, and other carbon-neutral fuels, rather than focusing solely on electric power. Suzuki's recent modest success at the Suzuka 8-hour circuit endurance race, where they got 8th place, using sustainable technologies including biosourced engine oil, e-fuels, highlights their commitment into testing and integrating these innovations into future models. Despite their achievements in sustainable technologies, Suzuki has deemed reviving their Gixxer 1000 rather impractical due to high production cost, reflecting the need to balance economic feasibility with product development. Suzuki emphasizes while electric motors are a part of their future plans, achieving carbon neutrality involves exploring various technologies, not just electric power. While other manufacturers are going full throttle with electric power, Suzuki's sticking to their guns with a multi-fuel approach, because if you're going to reach the future, might as well keep the ride interesting. Norton Motorcycles is facing a transformation of its own, and this news story is mainly for those of who are football fans out there, or as we in America say, soccer. Richard Arnold, former CEO of Manchester United, is taking the role as president at Norton Motorcycles. Arnold had spent 16 years with Manchester United, securing major partnerships, including deals with GM and Adidas worth $2 billion. Now, Norton has faced significant challenges in the past few years, with 2 bankruptcies and a pension scandal from the previous owner, who was even imprisoned for 8 months due to it. Arnold aims to revive Norton's reputation, as well as focusing on global expansion and financial stability, with having the support of TVS, which is India's 3rd largest motorcycle manufacturer. With Norton's plans of releasing 6 new motorcycles and expanding its presence into US, Germany, France, Italy, and India's markets. Now, unlike other executives making career changes and coming into the motorcycle industry, Arnold is actually a motorcycle enthusiast himself. And with his success track record and having a passion for motorcycling, Arnold really does have the potential to bring Norton back into prominence. Now, Richard Arnold's move from Manchester United to Norton Motorcycles might seem like a big leap, but if he can turn football hooligans into loyal fans, just imagine what he can do with a few motorcycle enthusiasts. Speaking of Manchester, a town that's 50 miles south of Manchester and 150 miles north of London, called Newcastle, its council is considering banning motorcycle group rides. Now, to put this more formally, the Council of Newcastle is considering a public spaces protection order banning the gatherings of 2 or more vehicles and prohibiting group rides. This includes motorcycles. The proposed law would make it illegal for vehicles to gather on roads or in public spaces without an official approval. And violations of this order could get you a fine of 100 euros, which is about 106 to 107 United States dollars. The council aims to address the issues around car cruising, with residents, businesses, and even visitors claiming that the disruption from loud music, loud exhaust, terrible driving has lowered their quality of life. And so the council wants to improve the residents' quality of life and reduce these disruptances. In order to go around this law, you would have to get a permit in order to ride in a group that is for charity causes or just some sort of events. This order is expected to go in effect later in the year, but the council is waiting to hear opinions from their local residents. But to me, this really more seems like a money grab more than anything. Like, I can't even imagine in order to ride with someone, you have to get a permit for that. What happens if you're riding by yourself and unintentionally meet up with someone? Are you going to get fined? But to me, this just seems as a low ball cash money grab as a way to get additional revenue into their town. It's rather silly and bonkers, in my opinion. Local riders have expressed their concern of emphasizing that council members need to learn how to distinguish problematic riders from non-problematic people. I can't even imagine that this is what the council is choosing to focus on instead of spending their time, money, and power towards actual important issues that are out there. I can't help but to think that this is just some sort of self-esteem problem that they have within themselves, that either they can't ride, or even if they could ride, they would have no one who would want to ride with them. But that leads me to ask you, do you think something like this could ever happen in a city in America or a town near you? I feel like we wouldn't let that happen, but we'll see if this actually goes into effect. But I just thought that was rather interesting and worth sharing. As certain smaller towns are debating about putting restrictions on motorcycle group rides, the excitement of motorcycling continues to thrive elsewhere. I recently found out about SurferCross, and I felt like I just had to share it with y'all really briefly. It's a 2-day competition that started back in 1999 by a former factory race mechanic, where the first day it's a surf competition, and the second day is a motocross competition. Now, SurferCross is an invite-only competition in Southern California, and it involves people who excel both in surfing and in motocross. Competitors are paired randomly into pairs of two, switching off every lap in motocross and competing in surf heats. And as cool as this all sounds, it just leads me to say that SurferCross is probably the only place where you'll see someone wipe out on a wave and then try to do the exact same thing on a dirt bike, but with a lot more style. As SurferCross blends the thrills of dirt biking and surfing, the world of motorcycles continues to push boundaries, as amplified by Jonny Davies and his recent achievement in breaking a world record. In my last Moto News coverage, I covered Jonny Davies' plans to breaking the world record on the fastest speed being dragged behind a motorcycle. And well, on August 18th, thousands of motorsports fans gathered on Elvington Airfield to witness this moment. Davies, who was a 2-time Guinness World Record holder, now 3-time world record holder, achieved a top speed of 159 miles per hour on his supercharged Kawasaki H2, beating the previous record that was done in 1999 at 156 miles per hour, only on a Hayabusa, where he had beat that record by 3 miles per hour. He used his specially designed titanium shoes and a secondary thumb throttle on the back end of his motorcycle to achieve this record. And I just wanted to revisit this topic, given that Jonny Davies has officially broken a Guinness World Record. So congratulations to him for achieving such incredible speeds and setting a brand new benchmark. Now that's a wrap for today's segment. We've covered some fascinating and some not so fascinating stories in the motorcycle sphere. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about these stories and your opinions on them. If you enjoyed this segment and you would like to see more in the future, your feedback is really crucial to me. If you want to support the channel, I do have a link below into where you can donate money so I can make more of these videos. Your support is very much appreciative. But with that said, thank you for watching this video. Y'all stay safe out there. But most of all, don't forget to spread love to those around you.